nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me. The best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people.
If you heard, irrespective of what Scott Adams was actually saying, if you heard him say that he's got big problems with all black people and that black people, all black people, are the problem, and you felt that Scott Adams is somehow then aligned with you for the benefit of white people, then your heart and spirit are soiled by anti-whiteism. And you need to do some introspection, because hatred or condemning another group, the totality of it, focusing on their warts and what they do bad, is never going to contain love for Western kind, ever. You will never find a people, you will never find you will never make us again into a people in the kernel of hatred and ugliness that you see in others. I cannot state it enough, and it should be obvious. You should not feel any alignment with Scott Adams based on these gross, hyperbolic statements about the totality of the black race. Are there anti-white blacks? Hell yeah. Of course there are. But the problem is not their birth. The problem is the anti-whiteism. If you want to be in our story, you need to understand. So many people have a hard time understanding this. Even if in the laboratory of the mind or in another universe, a parallel universe identical to this, except for this situation, even if there was a whole race of man out there, or a whole people of mankind out there that genetically were anti-white, they couldn't be anything else. They were just going to hate and work for the destruction and annihilation of the white race, no matter what. Even if that existed, and it doesn't, but even if it did, you would still be in error to condemn them on the basis of their birth, not for the moral precept that it is wrong to condemn people on the basis of their birth. No, but because by focusing on them, by centering them, you rob yourself of the strength of being the center of your story. It's our victimization that's all that matters, not their birth. I don't give a shit if they're born. All I care about is if we're victimized. You were walking with your mother in the park, and a bunch of people ran up, and maybe it was an eclectic group. They were all different races. Some of them were spotted. They had different attire on. Everything was as different as possible. And they ran up and beat the shit out of your mother before you could do anything and ran off. And then instead of tending to your mother, you decide to feebly run after them, to scream at them about how bad they behave, and then make the most superficial appraisal and understanding, evaluation of the group, that maybe they all had on pink fanny packs. That is what that is. If you watched your mother get beaten, and instead of immediately tending to your mother and worry about her injuries, you were concerned with the attacker, we would call you insane. And you would be. That's what's happening when white people look at the victimization of our brothers and sisters, and then immediately are writing about black people or whatever group it is. Let's stick with black people, about how awful they are, about how violent they are, about how criminal they are. Not a single thought shared, not a single concern for the victim. The first thought, just as your mother getting punched and then the guy runs off, should be for the victim. Then you have a people. Then you can put an end to the victimization. Because the victimizer doesn't mean shit. The victim is the thing that matters. our brother or sister. That's the thing that matters. And when that matters, all the white people in the park will come to your aid. Do you get it yet? So, Devin Stack and I'm not picking on him, and so many others out there will look at this sort of thing and they'll say, as Devin Stack said, well, it's a good thing to just put this endless footage out about how bad blacks are. Could you imagine? That's the only deduction. And then he says, what we need to do is get this information about how bad blacks are. And you see these other groups out there of idiots doing the same thing with Jews. All we need to do is get all the information out there about how bad the Jews are, how bad the blacks are. And then what, dumbass? I've been asking that question for more decades, since I was 18. Then what? Just get the information out there? Guess what? We've been doing that since before your great-granddaddy. White people have been doing that since before your great-granddaddy was born. Getting the information out there about how bad the other races are. How much good has that done for us? Look at the state we're in today. We need to get our victimization out to our brothers and sisters. The information that we need to get out there is how much we're victimized. Not how bad blacks are or how bad Jews are, whatever other group you want to pick. Every race of people has ne'er-do-wells. Some groups might have more, some groups might have less. It's totally immaterial when you want to have a people to be able to put an end to this. We need to get the information out to the world about how victimized we are. White people, you could take the exact same video of a white person being jumped and beaten, in this case, as Scott Adams is talking about, by a bunch of black people. And you could get both of them out there in the world. And the one about how bad blacks are is just going to harm our race, because white people will continue to view themselves as individuals and develop increasing animus and hatred for blacks that they will effectuate individual self-preservation decisions as a result of. On the other hand, you get out to the world, not that the black people in that video matter, that are beating the shit out of the white person, because they don't matter. What matters is our white brother or sister that's blinded or raped or maimed or dead, psychologically traumatized for their whole life. There was a comment in a recent thread, and we'll finish this up right now. There was a comment in a recent thread on Twitter. Somebody said, nobody wins wars. It's one of these people who lives as the shadow of jaywalkers in the world. They just follow jaywalkers. That's all these people are shadows. They have no substance of their own. They have no people of their own. They have no value of their own. They're just a shadow that is cast by jaywalkers. So wherever a jaywalker goes, this shadow is following him to haunt him, to hound him. Why is that? Because the jaywalker has a very confident peoplehood, and the shadow has nothing. So this shadow writes on this thread that, well, no war is ever won because the soldier in the foxhole loves the other soldier in the foxhole, trying to attack my position of love, hope, and redemption. So I wrote back the reality that the wars are won and people risk their lives because they love what's behind them. Nobody risks death for the thing they hate. Nobody risks losing their job for the thing they hate. Nobody risks being beaten in a fight where some white person is being jumped because they hate the non-white people that are jumping them. They risk those things out of love. How do I know that? Because I fucking did it. When I have stood up for white people throughout my life, it has never been because I hated the group that was attacking a white person. Why would I risk myself? I had got in the middle of a fight in DC where I am certain I would have either been killed or maimed and wish I was dead. For a white guy, I had no idea who he was. There is no way in hell for the valueless pieces of anti-white shit that were getting ready to destroy him that I would risk maiming and death. It was because I cared about him and our people. We have a real sickness, and right now in the body of our people, and we're not going to heal until we recognize it.